What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. You guys joined me for an interesting video here today. So in front of me I have the 2022 Infiniti Q60 Red Sport 400 Coupe. Now I know that name is a mouthful, but I wanted to take the opportunity to check this car out today. It is for sale at Leesburg Buick and GMC here in the Washington DC area. They've graciously allowed me to film this car here today. And like I said, I just want to check this car out. I feel like it gets overlooked, especially in its in competition with the BMW 440i, the Audi S5 and stuff like that. And as a previous B9 S5 owner, I just want to see how this thing kind of stacks up to the competition. So to be honest with you guys, I had to do a little bit of research on this car before I started filming. You know, Infiniti as a brand, you know, doesn't really come to mind initially when you're thinking about, you know, performance cars and best in class and stuff like that. And, you know, Infiniti itself has been going up and down, you know, in terms of its performance and model lines and stuff like that over the past 10 years. It's been a little bit confusing with everything being named, you know, starting with the Q and their model line and stuff like that. And I feel like this car just kind of slid under the radar when it first came out, and I think it deserves some more recognition. You know, it has a great twin turbo V6, amazing styling, stuff like that. So the Q60 Coupe here kind of traces its origins all the way back to the Infiniti G37, which we all know and like from way back in 2003. Like I said, with Infiniti kind of naming everything, starting with the Q, it gets a little bit confusing in their model lineup. I do believe that the Q60 sedan is also exists, but that also might be called the Q50. So I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that this one is the Red Sport version. So it has the, you know, upgraded 3-liter twin turbo V6, the Brembo brake calipers that you guys probably saw on other performance add-ons like that. So starting right up front here, I do like the overall look up here. You can see the blacked out grille right there with the Infiniti logo, which looks good. You have full LED headlights with these kind of wraparound daytime running lights that look really nice. You have LED fog lights under there as well, a little bit of additional cooling. Front parking sensors. If we take a look at these wheels, these are a beautiful set of graphite 20-inch wheels here. Really nice. The Brembo 4-piston calipers behind them, which I think are specific to the 400 Red Sport here. It looks like you do have a functional kind of heat extractor or vent right here. I did just try to verify that it is functional. It looks like there are some, you know, some holes in there to let some air through. So nice to see that. You also have piano black exterior mirrors right here. That's probably just specific to the Q60 Coupe itself. You see a really nice kind of bolt pattern. I'm not exactly sure how to describe that for the window trim, but nice distinctive look there as well. At the rear here, you also have these nice thin kind of LED taillights with the kind of swooping pattern for the running lights back here as well. Q60S, I think the S is red, obviously, because this is the 400 Red Sport. You also have dual exhaust tips down here, kind of a piano black rear diffuser, if you will. If you go ahead and open up the trunk, you can use this little chrome button right here on the tail light to go ahead and pop it open. And as you can see, a decent amount of space. You can probably fit, you know, a couple pairs of golf clubs back there. You also have some kind of grocery hook, you know, dividers and stuff like that. I do believe these seats also fold down, the latches for which are obviously right here. Let's go ahead and hop in the Q60 here, and before we do so, I'll show you guys the key. This is basically the same Nissan Infiniti key that they've been using for the past 20 years or so. It is a nice key, but I think they have redesigned it since this car came out. You can see the top button is remote start. Here's the lock button, unlock, the trunk button, as well as the panic. You also have kind of an emergency key right there that you can stick into the door if the battery dies. This car also obviously has smart key access system, so all you have to do to lock the car is just press the button on the door handle like so. And if you want to unlock it, you can just place your hand behind the door handle and pull to open. But as the door opens, you can see because this is a coupe, it has a really long kind of driver's door here. You can see the nice red stitching on the top of the door panel here, nice carbon fiber trim, kind of an aluminum-ish looking door handle. I don't think that's real, but you also have a 13-speaker Bose audio system, I believe. These seats also look pretty good. I think they are heated. You can see the nice red stitching in them as well. If we go ahead and take a quick look at the rear seat, you can see decent enough space back there. I don't think you're going to be fitting kind of adults or anything back there for extended trips, but you do have some cup holders and a little bit of storage. Let's go ahead and step inside the Q60 here and take a look at the rest of the interior here. So as you step inside, you can see you're greeted by this nice kind of leather wrap steering wheel here, a nice thin airbag cover, aluminum trim right there at the bottom. You also have the analog gauges right there showing this car's age a little bit. We'll get into all that in a second, as well as the rest of the technology here. But let's go ahead and start this thing up. Obviously, all you have to do is put your foot on the brake and hit the button to start. It is very quiet. I'm not sure you guys could even hear that. So under the hood of the Q60 Red Sport here is Nissan and Infiniti's VR30 DETT engine. It is a 3-liter twin-turbo V6. It makes 400 horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque in this application. It's connected to a 7-speed automatic transmission. This car was available in rear and all-wheel drive configurations. 0 to 60 is right around 4.5 seconds. Fuel economy is right around 20 city, 27 highway. Because this engine is part of the VR engine family from Nissan and Infiniti, I do believe that it shares some components with the R35 GTR engine. I do believe some of the differences include this being direct injection while the GTR is port injected, but nonetheless it is a family derivative, if you will, of that engine, so that's pretty cool. The aftermarket on this car is also pretty interesting. It's not as competitive maybe as the B58 and the BMW is getting all the attention, but I've seen these things with aftermarket turbos and stuff like that being well into the 600 horsepower range. So a very interesting motor, and I'm interested to see kind of how the development of the aftermarket continues. Now that we have some temperature in this thing, let's go ahead and give it a couple revs. So if you guys are familiar with any sort of Nissan Infiniti engine sound, this will sound very familiar. It just really sounds like a muted version of the G37 from back in the day with the naturally aspirated V6. But that being said, let's go ahead and shut the door here and check out the rest of the interior on this car. So like I already mentioned, you do have this nice 3-spoke leather-wrapped steering wheel here with kind of red stitching. You also have the analog gauges in front of you. This is probably one of the biggest complaints that I have with this car, is that the technology is really not up to par, especially with the competition. You do have a little bit of customization in this center display screen here. You customize it with these buttons on the steering wheel here. For you kind of scroll through the various menus, you have tire PSI, engine oil, fuel economy data, stuff like that. But no fuel, no navigation display, no anything like that. So I kind of wish this car did have a full digital instrument display. The good news though, I think, is that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto were standard for 2022, and you can connect those wirelessly, so you don't really have to deal with this infotainment display too much if you don't need to. You also have some kind of climate buttons right here, which is nice, so you don't have to go into the menus for that as well. Continuing along, you also have some piano black trim right here. You also have heated seats. They are 3-level heated seats, but you have to kind of press the button a few times to get that, kind of showing the age of this car overall. You have the red stitching on the gear selector here. If we go ahead and put the vehicle in reverse, you actually do have a 360 camera with kind of live trajectory right there. It's not the greatest resolution ever, but it is pretty nice that you have that feature nonetheless. You also have a couple physical controls right here for the infotainment. This scroll wheel does like the zoom for the navigation and stuff like that. You have an OK button, a camera button, bring up the map permanently, and as also a back button right there. This is the drive mode toggle selector here. If we kind of go through that, you can see we're in Sport Plus right now. You can put it down into Sport, Standard, Eco, and Snow. You also have some additional carbon fiber trim right here, some cup holders, nice leather stitched armrests here. You also have some USB-C and A charging outlets as well. Overall, the interior of the Q60 is probably its weakest point, in my opinion. I can see where sort of the criticism stems from this car, unfortunately. The dual screen setup right here is just not intuitive, and the kind of dated infotainment and gauge cluster right there kind of put this thing behind in terms of the competition, no matter how great the performance is. But with that being said, let's go ahead and shut the car off here and conclude the video. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick look at the 2022 Infiniti Q60 Red Sport 400 Coupe. Huge thanks again to Leesburg Buick, GMC, and Hummer in the Washington, D.C. area for allowing me to film this car. I'll go ahead and link all of their contact information in the description box below. But if you did enjoy, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.